It's 4 o'clock. It's time for trivia. Hello, Kitty Coo. Gemma, good evening. Welcome. Lemon Pie, good evening. I hope we had a wonderful day today. Time for trivia. Give it about another 3 minutes and then we'll get this party started. First night of trivia of 2024. Rihanna, good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia. All the questions tonight are on Gerald Stano. Not particularly a household name in all parts of the U.S. or world, but definitely an American serial killer. Well, thank you, Sherry. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Thank you for sharing it, Gemma. Cement Shoes, good evening. Welcome to the first night of trivia of 2024. I hope you all had a great day today and a pleasant weekend. 2 more minutes. Back in 2 and 2. We all get that reference. Back in 2 and 2. I will read it after the stream tonight, Gemma. I see that you emailed me, and I got the alert on my phone, and I also saw your message here. I'm sure I will, though. That's Chuck Woolery, in case you're wondering. Don't get the reference. The Dating Connection. He'll be back in 2 and 2. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, get that reference. Love, not Dating Connection. Love Connection. Love Connection with Chuck Woolery. Good evening, Lori. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a wonderful day today. Another 40 seconds and we'll get this party started. All the questions again tonight are on Gerald Stano, American serial killer. Rackart, good evening and welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a wonderful day today. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first night of trivia of 2024. This is episode number 287. The very first question is on your screen. You will notice that I've done some things that are a little bit differently than the last year. First off, all of the trivia nights for 2024 now have 20 questions. No more 18 questions or bonus questions. All the trivia have 20 questions. And I don't have to read off the viewer discretion thing anymore because I'm not streaming to multiple different platforms anymore. I'm only streaming to YouTube and Twitter. Well, X. And neither one will require it. Steph F, good evening. On my bunk heater on my truck, it's not working, but I almost have it fixed. Oh, well, good luck, Reichardt. All right, question number 1 is on the screen. Like a lot of serial killers, George took to his grave his total kill count. What is the total law enforcement believe is the closest to his actual kill number? Is it A 30, B 40, C 144,000, or D 50? Question number 1 of 20. And I will get myself in my little window here in just a minute. And Steph and Lemon Pie, Lori are all going with A. Oh, Lori B, Gemma B, Kitty Q A. And here's me in my little window, little me. C, of course, with Lori's helping him take everyone to heaven. Like a lot of serial killers, George took to his grave his total kill count. What is the total that law enforcement believes the closest to his actual kill number? Question number 1. Cement Shoes is going with A. Sherry B. All right, ladies and gentlemen, question number 1. The correct answer is B as in boy, 40. They actually believe that his real kill number is probably excess to double that, but they have no way of actually proving it because he only confessed to killing 44. 44 is what he confessed to. But when you take the total of 44 confessions, he did not tell them what he did with the bodies or a complete confession as to where and when he actually killed all of them. But 44 is what they believe his his number is close to, if not double that. All right, question number 2. Which item from below was a torture tool always brought to the crime scene by George Stano? Was it A, screwdriver, B, Jersey Shore DVD, or C, a ball gag, or D, acid? Which item from below was a torture tool always brought to the crime scene by George Stano? Question number 2 of 20. Kitty Kid is going with A. Gemma is going with D. I did no homework, says Kitty Q. Uh-oh. Well, Lori's A. Lemon Pie C. Steph is going with A. E. A complete Dave L. library. Complete Dave L. library, says Cement Shoes. Sherry's going with C. A ball gag. Question number 2. The correct answer is A as in apple, a screwdriver. A Phillips screwdriver, not even a flat screwdriver, but a Phillips screwdriver. He always brought it to every crime scene. Don't know exactly what he was, doing with it torture wise. I couldn't get into all that. I was going to read up on his. He was a very sadistic individual. And good evening, Eddie Haskell, and welcome to tonight's trivia. But he was a sadistic killer. He loved to torture these victims before he killed them. But we'll get more into that as we go along tonight. Lemon pie, impossible burger. All right, question number 3. George spent a lot of his life behind bars. In an interview a month prior to his death, he said he learned one thing behind bars. What was it? Was it A, always get to the showers first? B, never steal from a biker? C, he belongs behind bars? Or D, there are more people like him? Question 3 of 20. George spent a lot of his life behind bars. In an interview a month prior to his death, he said he learned one thing behind bars. What was it? Good evening, Sprinkled Donuts. Welcome to tonight's trivia. Sprinkled Donut. Why do I always want to say Sprinkled Donuts? George Santo, American serial killer. Right card is going with D. Eddie B. Lori D. Gemma C. One month before he died, he gave an interview to an ABC affiliate in Florida. Oh man, probably D. Did I already said C? LOL. Sherry's going with D. Steph is going with A. Question number 3. The correct answer is C as in cat. That he belonged behind bars. It was the last year of George Santos' life. He became religious, I guess you could say. I don't know if he really was, or if he was just faking it to try to, plead leniency. But he said that he belonged behind bars because he knew what he had done was wrong at that point. So a month before his actual, death, he said that, to the reporter that, he was sorry for the things that he'd done, and he's sorry to all the families that he had hurt. I don't think he was sincere, but that's what he said. I'm going with all A's tonight. I know nothing about this dude. Well, we'll see. All right, question number 4. Got nothing but time and people to kill. While behind bars, George made friends with some interesting people. Who was by far the most infamous? Was it A, Pauly Shore, B, John Wayne Gacy, C, Ted Bundy, or D, Prince Edward? Got nothing but time and people to kill. While behind bars, George made friends with some interesting people. Who was by far the most infamous? Eddie Haskell's going with B. Lori B. Pauly Shore, John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, or Prince Edward? Lemon Pie, B. Kid the Q is going with B. Boy, some people gonna be surprised by the answer to this one. Cement shoes, R. Kelly. Reichardt's going with B. All right, question number 4. Ladies and gentlemen, George Santo became great friends with none other than C. Ted Bundy. While Bundy was on death row, so was George Santo. And the two of them would talk for hours every day. Every day they were in cells right next to each other on death row in Florida. Became good friends with Ted Bundy. All right. Question number 5. The day that George Santos' execution, he did what with guards leading up to his last meal and death? Was it A, he played volleyball with them? B, he confessed to rapes and murders? C, he played cribbage with them? Or D, he played basketball with them? The day of George Santos' execution, he did what with the guards leading up to his last meal and death? Pharma, bro. We got Kitaku C, Lemon Pie B, Eddie Haskell D, question mark. I don't know. Lori is going with B, Steph is going with A. Sherry's going with C. Jamma is going with B, and he read Daybell's books to them, so they had to suffer too. Oh boy. Question number 5 of 20. What did George do leading up to his final meal and his eventual death? Foot massages. It's funny, Lemon Pie. You gave them foot massages. The answer to question number 5 is C as in cat. He played cribbage with them through the bars of his death cell door. When you're on death row and it's the day of your execution, they move you from death row to what's called the death chamber waiting area. It's a single one-man cell where you have a bed. I don't know why you'd need a bed, but it has a bed in it. It has a table. It has a chair. And that's where they bring you your last meal. And a guard is stationed outside of the actual cell door itself. And he moved the stool over to the actual bars there on death, at the death waiting door, and played cribbage with the guards leading up to his final meal arriving. And then after he was done with his meal, which we'll get into, it's on tonight's trivia. After he ate his last meal, then there was a period of time when they came in and a priest saw him. And then after the priest saw him and he exonerated him of his sins or whatever, he confessed to the priest whatever he wanted to do. He got like 25 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that to talk to him. Some of them just say, no, I don't want to talk to you. Then the priest leaves, or, whoever it might be, their spiritual leader, because they could be another denomination other than Christian. But after that, and then they lead them to the actual death chamber itself for lethal injection, execution by electric chair, gas chamber, hanging, whatever their final method of execution is. In George Santos' case, it was the electric chair, the same one that Teddy fried in. All right, question number 6. How many murders did George take to his grave refusing to admit to or talk about? Yet after his death, he was connected to by evidence. Was it A, 10 to 15, B, 16 to 20, C, 144,000, or D, 21 to 28? shines their shoes. How many murders did George take to his grave, refusing to admit to or talk about, yet after his death he was connected to by evidence? Cement Shoes is going with B. Gemma, D. Kirikou, A. How many? How many murderers? Eddie Haskell, B. Sprinkled Donut, B. How many murders? Murder, murder, murder. Thing about serial killers is they like to murder. Lori A. Sherry A. Rihanna going with B. Question number 6. Question 6. How many murders? Murder, murder, murders. Sadistic serial killer, George Santo. In case you're wondering what his full name is, it's George Eugene Santo. George Eugene Santo is his full name. Question 6. The correct answer is B as in boy. 16 to 20 murders. Now, when those 16 to 20, they did not find the victims right away. They found skeletal remains of missing women who had disappeared in the areas that he had lived in or had traveled through, and those women all died of the same kind of MO as George, and some of them he was connected to with DNA or other physical evidence that was found at the scene. So 16 to 20 murders he was connected to after death. He would not talk about them at all, even though he was approached by the law enforcement for more information about these crimes. He refused to talk about them. Question number 7. George Santo was not his birth name. He was adopted as a child. Which name from below was his birth name? Was it A, Paul Winger, B, Paulie Gacy, or C, Paulie Zigniger, or D, Paulie Shore? George Santo was not his birth name. He was adopted as a child. Which name from below was his birth name? Question number 7 of 20. Good evening, left-handed RN. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a pleasant day today. Thank you for joining us tonight for trivia. All the questions tonight are on George Eugene Santo, American serial killer. Chad Daybell Jr., Cement Shoes, Lemon Pie, Paulie Enormous. George Santo was not his birth name. He was adopted as a child. Which name from below was his birth name? Question 7 of 20. Sprinkled Donuts is going with C. Sherry's going with C. Of course, Cement Shoes is going with E. Chad Daybell Jr. Left-handed arm. Paul Stanley, says Reichart. Paul Stanley. All right, question 7. The correct answer is C as in cat. Paul Zinniger was his birth name. He was adopted by a nurse who gave him the name George Santo. Her last name obviously was Santo, but she gave him the name. And when she adopted him, she gave him a complete new name, George Eugene Santo. Question 8. Sadistic killer, serial rapist were just two of the many things George was known for. Which one from this list below is something else he did? Was it A, was he a serial arsonist? B, a drug dealer? C, a child molester? Or D, an alcoholic? Sadistic killer, serial rapist were just two of the many things George was known for. Which one from the list below is something else he did? George Santo. Gemma, Kitiku, Rayanna, Steph are all going with A, an arsonist. Lemon Pie is going with D, an alcoholic. Sorry, my new phone messed up. I'm typing left-hand RN and then I accidentally deleted someone's comment trying to delete the mistake. I apologize to whoever that was. Oh, I'm sure it was a mistake. Like you said, cement shoes, and it's okay. Sherry A, officially I hate my new phone. I am sorry about that. I buy a phone maybe once every 5 years, 6 years. I don't buy one unless I need it. Last one I had to buy was because the charging port stopped working, stopped charging the phone. They had wireless charging, and wireless charging stopped, and then plugging the phone into a cable into the wall wouldn't charge it. Can you put the comment back? I don't know which message it was that was deleted. Cement shoes. It's not showing me on my end what was deleted, if anything at all. So sorry, no, I can't. I don't know what it was. It'll probably pop up later, and I can put it back afterwards. But right now, nothing is highlighted on my end. E, a ballroom dancer. Jersey Shore fan club president says lemon pie. Question 8 of 20. A sadistic killer, serial rapist were just two of the many things that George was known for. Which one from below is something else he did? Ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer is D as in dog. He was a fall down drunk. When he wasn't out killing people, he was getting absolutely loaded. And if the police were constantly picking him up and taking him back to his home or taking him to the jail to sober up, and then they would release him, but they had no idea that he was out killing people, that he was a serial killer. They just thought he was just a fall down drunk. And they just played off, oh man, that's just George. He's an idiot. No one is complaining, so just pretend it was mine. Smith Shoes, don't worry about deleting my comment. I forgive you. All right, well, there's a cross dresser says spring F, cross dresser. But he was a fall down drunk. Was when he wasn't killing or raping women, he was an alcoholic. Did he kill while drinking or sober? He was sober, Rihanna. Later on in an interview, he never came out and really said it, but he said that he, in his mind, he always could never make heads or tails to why he was driven to kill or to do the things that he did. And he drank to try to, I guess basically self medicate, but he never really came out and said that part. He just hinted at that the alcoholism was part of, his way of coping with it all. But yeah, I mean, you have to take that, a serial killer for, for how much that's worth. They're not going to come out and say, well, I did it all because my mom beat me, and that was really the reason why they did it. But he was sober when he did it, and then he got drunk afterwards. That's why he got away with it for so long. Question number 9. While strapped into the electric chair, George had a chance to say his final words. Before the audience could see him or hear him, what did he say? A. He told the warden location of final victim. B. Told the warden he stole from the kitchen. C. Told warden to kiss his ass. Or D. He told the warden he fucked his wife. Sorry for having to actually say it, but F #, what does that mean? I have to say it. And I'll probably get shadow banned from YouTube for it. He looks like Jim Belushi in a couple of his pictures. He definitely looked like a lot of other people. That was how he blended into society. Some shoes. The KFC recipe. What did he tell the warden? Go the KFC recipe. We got C, a B, C, C, D, and C. C and C, C, the C, 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 C. Excuse me. While strapped into the electric chair, George had a chance to say his final words before the audience could see him or hear him. What did he say? Kid the Q said, I said B, but I'll go with D, so D. All right, question number 9 of 20. The correct answer is, Steph, you got it right. It's A. He told the warden exactly where his final victim was. The warden walked up to him and said, why don't you tell us where the last victim is buried so her family can have peace before you go? And he said, fine. And he told the warden exactly where his final victim's body could be found. After his electrocution, they sent detectives to the area, and that's exactly where she was. Now, there was another lady, if you caught the early trivia question on Monday, that is how he got caught, was trying to kill another victim who got away from him and then ran to authorities, made it to the police, and told them exactly what this man had done in the hotel room to her. I think she had been stabbed like 30 times at that point, or some ridiculous amount of numbers, and she's bleeding. She had the forethought, you know what? I'm probably going to die. I better find the police. And so she went to the police. That's how he was caught. But now we're talking about the victim just before her, his last victim. But at least her family got closure to where her remains were. Question number 10. Growing up as a child and even as an adult, when George got stressed or mad, he did what to calm down so he could move forward? Was it A, he murdered people? B, he walked around on all fours? C, he threw feces at people? Or D, he hit himself hard on the side of the head? Growing up as a child and even as an adult, when George got stressed or mad, he did what to calm down so he could move forward? Yes, Smith Shoes. The last woman that he brought to the hotel room was a prostitute, and he stabbed her, I think, like 30 times. It could be less or more than that, but he stabbed her a whole hell of a lot. And then she got out of the room while he was distracted and ran off, and she kept on running, and she eventually got to a police officer, told him who this guy was, that she was a prostitute in the room and everything, and they went to the room, knocked on the door, and he answered the door, and there was blood everywhere in the room and all over George. But she lived. I can't say A this time. I'm going with D, says Steph. We got D for lemon pie, sprinkle donut. Ray, Anna, Sherry are all going with D. Macrame. Kitty Q's going with D as well. Addie Haskell, D. E, I like pineapple on pizza. Question 10 of 20. Growing up as a child and even as an adult, when George got stressed or mad, he did what to calm down so he could move forward? Ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer to question 10 is B as in boy. He walked around on all four like a monkey. Okay, I'm now it's time for break time, but I want, if you want to stick around for a second instead of just walking away really quickly, let me tell you about why he walked around on all fours like a monkey. Now remember, when George was younger, he was adopted by a nurse who had the last name of Stano. She adopted him. When George was a child, he was severely neglected and beaten daily, and if daily, and we're not talking like a little spanking her. We're talking his biological mother would beat the crap out of all of her kids, and she refused to feed them. He was locked in a cage or tied to a bed as a child, and they did not think that he was ever going to be adoptable or to be able to find a forever home. And she said, this lady came in, a true saint, and said, I'll take him. And she raised him as her own and loved him and gave him all the opportunities, in the world that he needed to be successful. But he was so damaged as a child, he could never get past that initial early on abuse. So, and that was what he did, was he always reverted when he got stressed or mad, he reverted back into like the shell of of his childhood from early on. But they thought that he was going to be institutionalized his entire life because of what he was dealing with from before he got adopted. So, all right, this is our normal 6-minute break. Go ahead and take a break, but watch out for mountain lions. They are sneaky little suckers, big suckers, and they can travel big distances in Yugos with drivers who smoke meth. Nothing in this world is free, not even mountain lion taming. Remember that. To a point, Rihanna? Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of information about the abuse that because we'll get in by the end of the night, throughout the history of the trivia that we're going to do tonight. You'll find out a lot more about his family growing up. But he was lucky that he survived it all. Do, do, do. 6-minute break. Smoke them if you got them. I've been reading Priscilla Presley's book, Ready for tomorrow when I see the Priscilla movie. Oh, I thought you were going today, Gemma. But that's cool. I've never read the Priscilla Presley book. I hope it's interesting. I hope you enjoy the movie as well. Sounds like, and when I've seen some of the trailers for it, it looks interesting. That's the way to go into any movie or any book, Gemma, is always have an open mind. If we already have our minds made up about, though everybody says the movie sucks, it's going to be awful, or the book's awful or whatever it might be, we're we're just going to go down that road. It's going to, taint our experience to actually watching it or reading it. Now, just remember some of the the cult classic movies that are out there, that people hated and said that they're awful. The movie Outsiders was was panned, by critics when it first came out. It's a cult classic, the book and the movie. A lot of people didn't like the original. Was it Empire Strikes Back? They said it was it was too over exaggerated, and I'm like, compared to what? What are you comparing it to? But if people would have listened to it, people never would have watched it. To each their own. That is true. To each their own. Very good point, Kitty Q. 2 more minutes. Do, 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 do. Well, good. I look forward to it, Gemma. I love the book, The Outsiders. Love the movie. I think the movie, if you just look at all the different stars that came out of the movie, The Outsiders, you know, you had Matt Dillon in there, Ralph Macchio, Emilio Estevez, just to name a few, of the stars who were in there. Um, wasn't Patrick Swayze in there as the older brother? There were a lot of stars in that movie, and people, didn't like it. Some people didn't like it. There were so many good actors. Yeah, a true classic movie, or so some people might call a cult classic. All right, we got 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Well, same people like it now. LOL. Some movies are like that though. They grow on you. I'll tell you a movie that I saw recently that surprised me, and that was Wonka. Oh, I so enjoyed it. Really, I've not seen Wonka. I've seen all the others. Um, I like Johnny Depp, So he's in this one. No, he's not in this one, or is he? Because this one goes more by the actual book. But either way, there's nothing's gonna beat the first one for me. I mean, I'm always gonna love Charlie and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I like Johnny Depp's version, with him playing Wonka. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Question: how did we go to 12? I want to go to 11. 11. All right. In high school, George failed at every subject besides music. He would later play in a band with his friends. What was the band's name? Was the band called A, the Archers, B, the Amps by Northwest, C, the Morning Dew, or D, the Commanders? In high school, George failed at every subject besides music. He would later play in a band with his friends. What was the band's name? You didn't like the Johnny Depp version, huh? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Eddie Haskell's going with D. Gemma, B. Kitty C. Question mark. Lemon pie, C. And stink. It's the story of how Wonka came to be a chocolatier. Yes, it's the newest one. Right, Anna is going with A. In high school, George failed at every subject besides music. He would eventually, in case you're wondering, he failed out of high school. Not that hard when you fail at every single subject besides music class. But he failed every class except for music and was in a band with his friends. Later on, what was the band's name? Question 11 of 20. Sherry's going with A, the Archers, along with Steph and Rihanna going with A. Question number 11. The correct answer is A as in apple. A as in apple. The Archers was the name of the band that he played in with his friends. In case you may remember the name of the band called The Archers, that's because they had success well after they kicked George Stano out of the band. They replaced him. He played guitar and backup vocals for the band The Archers. They kicked him out, and they did have a moderate amount of success later on after he was removed from the band. But he was in a band called The Archers. All right, question number 12. By now, everyone should be aware that George Stano killed in excess of 40 women. How many was he actually convicted of killing? Was it A, 9 women, B, 14 women, C, 6 women, 2 men, or D, 19 women, 2 babies, and 1 man? By now, we should all be aware that George Stano killed in excess of 40 women. How many was he actually convicted of killing? Question 12 of 20. Question number 12. Sorry about that. I got distracted at a text message. By now, we should all be aware that George Stano killed in excess of 40 women. How many was he actually convicted of? The correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, is actually A as in apple. A as in apple. 9 women he was convicted of killing. For 8 of the women, he got a life sentence with no possibility of parole. And the 9th woman, he received the death penalty, which he actually got. He got to sit in the nice big wooden chair that Ted Bundy got to sit in. And they fed some volts through him and said goodbye to George Eugene Santo. 9 women. A as in apple. Question 12. Question number 13. Who did George Stano blame for his false confession? Not real. It was all factual. And he beat into confessing to these murders. Was it A, lead detective Michael Tong, I think that's how you pronounce it. B, lead detective Paul Crow. C, a cult leader named Zumor. Or D, his adopted father. Who did George Stano blame for his false confession? Not real, but it was all a factual. And blame him. He say he beat him into the confessing to the murders. Who did he blame? Staff going with A, Lieutenant RN, B, Lemon Pie, C, Kitiku, B, question mark, question mark, question mark. Eddie is going with A, Rihanna, D, question mark, question mark. And Gemma is going with C. Who did George blame for his false confession? And in case you're wondering, this was his avenue to appeals as well. He appealed his actual convictions on the grounds that he was coerced, beaten, and did not get representation, and that this person set him up for the entire thing, and that he didn't actually do any of it. Bob Barker. A good one, Lemon Pie. Bob Barker. He did it with his putter. The price is wrong, Bob. Cher is going A. E. The warden. The warden beat him into it. Who did George Santo blame for his false confession? Question 13 of 20. Who did George Stano blame for the false confession? The correct answer to question 13, ladies and gentlemen, is B as in boy, lead detective Paul Crow. He blamed Paul Crow for not only arresting him falsely, he said he was held without representation, that he had asked for a lawyer immediately upon his arrest. He was denied any representation. And then to get him to confess to it, that lead detective Paul Crow physically beat him until he signed the confession that he had already written out about all the murders. That was his appeal, his avenue to appeal is what he said. But none of it was true. And later on, he confessed to more. That kind of blew it out of the water. So, but that was what he said. It wasn't true, though. All right. Question number 14. What was the final meal that George Stano had before he was executed? Was it A, plate of cookies and a glass of milk? B, two medium cheese pizzas? C, fried church's chicken? Or D, steak, potato, ice cream, and soda? What was George's last meal before he was executed? We got C for lemon pie. Eddie Haskell C. Steph is going with A. Kitty Q D. Left hand RN D. Gemma is going with B. What was George Stano, well, however you freaking pronounce it, I don't care. That would be what I would prefer, anyways. D says right, Anna. Steak, potato, ice cream, and soda. Sherry's going with A plate of cookies and a glass of milk. What was George's last meal? E, ramen noodles and sardines and spam. Oh, yuck. I can do with all that except for the spam. I'm not a big fan of spam. That would be like torture. Eddie Haskell, electric chair. Question 14 of 20. The correct answer is D as in dog. A steak, potatoes, ice cream, and soda. They actually ordered it from a local restaurant. He had a steak, a baked potato with all the works. He had a pint of mint chocolate chip ice cream. He had a 2-liter of soda. I believe it was Coca-Cola. And he had a glass of water. Not that really consumed, but he did consume it, or some of it. But that is what he had for his final meal. Steak, potato, ice cream, and soda. Next. Question 15. Besides his last meal, George made a strange request the prison was never going to fulfill. What was it? A, to be released and sent home. B, to speak to his brother in person. C, to confess all his crimes to Miss Hensley. Or D, to be able to punch the warden in the face. Besides his last meal, George made a strange request the prison was never going to fulfill. What was it? Question 15 of 20. Daddy Haskell's going with B. Steph A. Lemon Pie D. Gemma's going with A. Rihanna's going with D. Who else do we have? No, that's it so far. E, to be able to dance like nobody's watching. Do one of those dance offs like they had in I'm drawing a blank on the name of the movie now. It was right there. I can picture it. Yeah, it's gone. E. Sherry is going with D. I saw a video where someone actually made that and ate it. I think the guy is crazy. Smith, she's going with D. Besides his last meal, George made a strange request the prison was never going to fulfill. What was it? The correct answer to question number 15, ladies and gentlemen, is C, as in cat. He wanted to confess all his crimes to Miss Hensley. Miss Hensley was the prostitute that got away from him and was the reason why he got caught. He wanted to tell her about all of the crimes that he committed, and he wanted her to have to listen to. And so she knew just how close she came to death and that who he really was. He talked about it later on in an interview the month prior to his death, that he wanted to confess all of his crimes to her. But they weren't going to go get this lady and drag her through that again. She was already suffering from all the, that he had done. And I'm sure she doesn't have a good life at that point, being a prostitute. But he wanted to confess all of his crimes to her. Why? I don't know. That's what he wanted to do. And they're like, nope, not going to happen. Next, question 16. Kind of an odd trivia question. What was George Stano's favorite music artist or band? Was it A, the Beatles, B, Led Zeppelin, C, Pink Floyd, or D, NWA, or anything with Eazy-E? Sadly to say, Rihanna, no, did not. She died about 4 years after he did. She died of, I want to say hepatitis A or complications to hepatitis. I might be wrong on what letter of A, B, C, but she had hepatitis and she died from complications of that. She died about 4 years afterwards. Kitty Kid is going with C. Gemma is going with B. Rihanna, C. Eddie Haskell's A. Steph, A. And Cement Shoes is going with E. Miley Cyrus. But not her dad. Definitely not Billy Ray Cyrus. Because nobody wants to hear, that's torture, to hear Achy Breaky Heart. Don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart. It just don't understand. If you tell my heart, my achy breaky heart. I can't believe that was a hit. What kind of music did was George Stano's favorite music artist or band? Question number 16. Two Live Crew. Two Live Crew and As Nasty as You Wanna Be. I have that cassette. I don't know if it's in here or if it's in my truck. No, I got Public Enemy in there though. I got Public Enemy, Apocalypse 91. And then I've got Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted. Cassettes. In case you're too young and don't know what the hell a cassette is, it's like this little tape thing that you put in a tape player, and it's got music on two different sides. I got a huge collection. No, I don't have it here. It's in my truck. He insisted they play So Horny as he was in the chair. Ah, me so horny. Ah, me so horny. Ah, me love you a long time. That's funny, Lemon Pie. Too short. I've got Too Short. But all right, question number 16. The correct answer to question 16 is C as in cat. Pink Floyd was his favorite musical group. Pink Floyd. He insisted they play me so. When he's in the chair, I don't think you can actually get music in there. That's a good question. I wonder if you made your last request instead of a meal, you just wanted to listen to like NWA Straight Outta Compton or something like that. If they would actually that's his last request. He wants to listen to that album. All right, now let's electrocute him. What if you can make that request? I'm going to write that down. I'm going to look into that. Sorry. I'm going to look into it. I don't know if you can actually do that. They probably wouldn't do it anyways, but maybe it's something that you can request. Like the in Silence of the Lambs, he listened to classical music while he ate fava beans and had Chianti. I don't know. Maybe a Death Row inmate can actually request, music. Don't know. All right. Did you know the movie Stano was made and released into small audiences in 2019, starring Joe Manganiello, I think that's how you pronounce it, from the movie Magic Mike, and Sofia Vergara from the hit TV show Modern Family. Yes, they have made a movie in Hollywood about him. Checks in with shrooms, cheeks with shrooms. But the movie Stano is actually been made, and the top picture of Joe Manganiello, that is the actual cover of the actual movie itself, the DVD, the theatrical release. It got a pretty good score on Rotten Tomatoes, but they both starred in the movie. All right, question number 17 of 20. What was different about the murder of Barbara Buer that George never did before or after again? Was it A, false evidence left behind? B, he knew the victim beforehand? C, he is related to the victim? Or D, the victim was his youngest? Question 17 of 20. What was different about the murder of Barbara Buer that George never did before or after again? Some lemon pie is going with C. He is related to the victim. The actor is good looking guy. I hate it when they do that. This guy is not good looking. I hate when they do that. This guy was not good looking. This is just one of the many different movies he's done besides Magic Mike. He was also, you can find him on episodes of I want to say NCIS, but I'm probably wrong. It's probably Criminal Minds. He's done some cameos and different, work like that. And he's done other roles where he's played a leading man. Steph's going with A. Kittiku B. Summitshu D. Rihanna going with B. Sherry is going with B as well. What was different about the murder of Barbara Buer that George never did before or after again? The correct answer to question 17, ladies and gentlemen, is A as in apple. He left false evidence behind. And this is what he left behind. He left behind a matchbook for a motel. He also left behind a newspaper that somebody had written a phone number down on in lipstick on the newspaper. He found it in a trash can, on the street, and he decided to leave the newspaper and a book of matches to a competing hotel that he was not staying at. And that's what he left at the crime scene to try to throw off the authorities. He did this once, and he never did it again after that. Oh, yeah, he's sexy. But he did that once and one time only. All right, question number 18. If it will move. I clicked on it. It's not moving. Why is it not moving? Why is it not going to the next one? Click on it again. There we go. There was never a spur of the moment killing for George. They were all planned out. He only needed the victim. What method did he use the most to kill? Was it A, strangulation, B, stabbed, C, shot, or D, beaten by using his own hands or a log? There was never a spur of the moment killing for George. They were all planned out. He only needed the victim. What method did he use the most to kill? Question 18 of 20. What method did he use the most? We got B for sprinkled donuts, lemon pies. We'll see. Some men choose as a Jersey Shore marathon. Man, that's torture. Oh boy. having to listen to the situation, or and some of those people on the Jersey Shore for more than a couple of minutes. I mean, you might need like a lifetime of therapy to get over that shit. Always had a screwdriver, so I'm going with B. Death by Snooki. I've never watched an entire episode of the Jersey Shore, so let's just be clear on that. I did watch some videos on YouTube, so I could kind of get the idea of what the hell this joke was about the Jersey Shore sucking. So that's about the extent that I've ever watched. All right. Is it, maybe it's just me, but has everyone on that show had some kind of like Botox or enhancement surgery? Because they certainly look like they have. You've never seen it? Well, cement shoes, you don't want to watch it either. Question 18 of 20. There was never a spur of the moment killing for George. Oh, they were all planned out. He only needed the victim. What method did he use the most? Probably lobotomies. Question 18. The correct answer is B, as in boy. He stabbed him. Stabby, stabby. Lawyer, lawyer, lawyer. I'm sorry. I don't understand what there's got to be a joke or something behind that for Scott Reich, why he does that. And they have that in his videos now. But every time I hear it, I laugh. Lawyer, lawyer, lawyer. B as in boy for question 18. He stabbed him. But all of the ones on the screen there, strangulation, shot, and beaten, are all methods that he used. He did not stab everyone. He stabbed more of them to death than he shot them or beat them or strangled them. Three things go over my head here. Jersey Shore, 144 44,000 and the Mountain Lions. Well, the Jersey Shore, we pick on the Jersey Shore stuff because, well, it's just a farce of entertainment. The 144,000 comes from Lori and Chad Daybell. They believe that they were chosen to lead everyone in the afterlife and lead the 144,000 when Christ comes back to earth. So that from the book of Revelations, they believe that they were chosen for that role. So that's why they had to kill JJ and Tylee and Charles and Tammy and everything else, so they could lead them to the other side. Because Lori and Chad also had a day that they had picked that they were going to end their lives to lead the 144,000. Mountain Lions, boy, I'm confused by that one as well. But it came up as an inside joke on the channel about mountain lions, and we just kind of always run with it. And I'm really truly sorry if these things go over your head, or we talk about these inside jokes and it makes you feel like you're not wanted, or appreciated here, because I appreciate you being here and I want you here. It's just something we always joke about. All right, question next one, 19. People like hobbies. They love to learn. Serial killers they've never heard of had the same hobby as them. So what hobby did George have? Was it A, painting landscapes, B, writing songs and poems, C, needlepoint, or D, making audiobooks? Question 19 of 20. People like hobbies. They love to learn. Serial killers they've never heard of have the same hobby as them. So what hobby did George have? Less than 10? And it's mountain lions are more scared of you than you should be of them. That they see you, they're gone. I've in my entire life on my trail cam, which is a camera you put up on it in a tree to watch for game. We're watching for deer, but I have caught one mountain lion one time on that trail cam at my buddy's cabin. Now here locally, a neighbor caught one in a field area that's past our housing development. Not just this past year. People like hobbies. They love to learn. Serial killers they've never heard of had the same hobby as them. So what hobby did George have, ladies and gentlemen? And he's going with B, lemon pot A, Steph A, Sherry B. Rihanna is going with A, Kitaku going with B. Question 19 of 20. All right. Question number 19. The correct answer is B as in boy, writing songs and poems. He would write songs and poems and give them away to other inmates so they could write them into a letter that they were writing home to others, like to their loved ones, their girlfriends, their pen pals, whoever they were trying to get money from. But he would write poems and songs for them. That was his hobby, and I guess kind of like a side hustle, I guess, in prison. He probably got like a ramen soup or something for it. A wedding planner. Next, 20. Question 20 of 20. George was child number 5 of his birth mother. She gave up all of the children for adoption but one. Did any of his siblings kill people? If so, how many? Is it A, unofficially one did, he killed his wife. B, unofficially two did, and they killed 8 women. C, unofficially, yes, older brother did 1. Or D, no one knows, the records are sealed. Okay, let you think about that one for a second before I tell you the rest of this. You ever hear the saying that some people just shouldn't have children? Well, George Stano's biological mother had 5 children, and she beat every one of them and damn near starved every one of them to death as an infant. And all of them were adopted out but one. She moved out of the state of Florida. No, sorry. She moved from New Jersey to, they believe, originally to Florida, but it turns out she didn't move there. But she did have one child. We don't know what happened with that one child because she was gone. And the court records, pretty much after the adoptions all went through for him and his siblings, and they were all adopted out one by one by one by one. So it wasn't like all 5 of them left at the same time. She didn't even have 5 at the same time. She had 2, and then then one was she got rid of, and then so on and so on until she had 5. And every one of them supposedly had a different baby daddy. But they were all severely beaten. Now, question number 20. What is the correct answer? The correct answer, unfortunately, is A as in apple. Unofficially, his older brother, who was adopted out to a completely separate family. Every one of the kids got a different family through the adoptions that went out there. No one person took 4 and then he went to another, or 2 to 1, or anything like that. They all 5 went to 5 different families. But George's older brother, unofficially, according to what some people have dug up online, that's why it's unofficial, is he confessed to killing his wife and took a plea bargaining agreement to manslaughter. He was given 10 years in jail plus 10 years of home supervision for the actual murder of his wife. It was part of the plea agreement. 10 years, 10 years home on probation. But A is the correct answer to this. Now, of course, it's unofficial because hell, that could be somebody else. It could be the wrong person altogether. But the adoption records were all sealed. So, all right. How well did you do tonight? Did you get 16 to 20 right and get an A? 11 to 15, 6 to 10, 1 to 5, or is it E? You're a mountain lion taming expert. Keep in mind, we are doing this only for educational purposes and for fun. If you found an error, email me, the question in question, and I'll be more than happy to, to make it, a correction, because I want to make this better for everyone. But giving yourself a letter grade is completely optional. You do not have to do it. And good evening, Pippadot. How are you doing? I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I seriously think I got them all wrong. Well, that happens, Lemon Pie. It happens. All right. So now is the time when I tell everybody how many of the 20 did I know before I put this review together. Ladies and gentlemen, I knew 1. 1 out of 20. That's all I would have gotten right if these 20 questions would have been asked to me on a trivia night. I only knew 1. So frankly, I heard of the man's name before. I knew that there was a connection between him and Ted Bundy. And the one question I knew was what he had as his last meal on death row: the steak, potatoes, and ice cream and soda. That's the only one that I knew. I knew of that little connection, and that was it. So I didn't know who he was. So even if somebody studies serial killers, and reports on them all the time, I didn't know that much about them. So don't feel bad if you didn't get that many right. A D for dummy, says sprinkled donuts. A D would be more than what I got. I mean, I would have gotten a D. I guess that one. C, LOL. I got 9 right. Like high school. This is what I got for not studying. Well, that's 8 more than me, Kitty Q. And then I like again. I only knew that he had a connection to Ted Bundy because he came up on one of the documentaries that I watched about Ted Bundy from Death Row. I don't know if it was if it's the documentary about where he was talking to the priest about pornography, or if it was one of the interviews that Ted Bundy had done. But he had mentioned Stano in the actual interview, or he's going to go meet his friend or something. But that's what makes this so great, is learning about some obscure person, right? Yeah, I mean that some law enforcement agencies believe he may have killed as many as 88 people, but his number is a lot closer to 50. The 44 is what he confessed to. Where are all the victims? I don't think they're all discovered. But something else you might be interested in about George Stano is he came from the New York, New Jersey area. He killed in both New York and New Jersey, and then his parents moved to Florida. While he was there in the New Jersey, New York area after high school, he actually got a job working in the medical field. No, he was not a nurse. He worked in IT and in medical billing, but he worked in medical field, in a hospital, and then got his ass fired for not showing up to work on time and for just being an all around creepy ass individual. I'm sure they came up with something else, to fire him. But after that, he left and went to the state of Pennsylvania. And in the state of Pennsylvania, he killed there as well. So now you've got bodies in New York, New Jersey, and in Pennsylvania. Then he moved to Florida, making it the 4th state that he actually killed in. But he would, so those are the 4 states that he lived in. He killed in all of those, but he traveled in and out of 9 states in total on the East Coast of the United States. So he may have victims that he killed in all those other states. But when he came to his 44 confessions, he confessed to New York, New Jersey, and Florida, and then said that he had killed earlier in Pennsylvania. But he never got into the details of it. Never heard his name before? Yeah, look up Gerald Eugene Stano. 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 Meep, we're finished. We're finished with trivia tonight, Meep. But you can watch all of them in rewind. 20 questions. Every trivia night for 2024 has 20 questions on it now, instead of the 16 to 18 questions like before. And you also probably noticed that I broke down we take our break after the first 10 questions, and then we have 10 more afterwards. But I hope you had a wonderful day today and weekend, Meep. But 20 questions now instead of the 16 to 18. And all of the questions are picked by me now. No, no longer using Trivia King or any of the other trivia sites. Frankly, I got tired of paying for it. That's the reason why. I was paying to have to use their content, and I'm like, yeah, I can find trivia questions, and I did. Wasn't that hard. Well, you have a good weekend ahead, Meep. Thank you for stopping by. Like to break out the 10 questions? Good. Well, thank you, Kitty Q. Now I still have to pay for the images unless I can find them on the internet, in the free domain. So otherwise I have to pay, Getty Images for that. But I don't. I think I'm just gonna go with whatever I can find on Google that's not owned by Getty Images. Like tonight, you notice that there's one picture up close of him that I used, I think, 9 times, in the 20 questions. But that's because it's in the free domain. And then the other ones were a group of 4 pictures that were taken during the actual court hearing during his trial. Those are in the free domain, so I broke those up into, different ones. But well, I'm glad everyone enjoyed tonight's trivia. Get my Sharpie marker out, my highlighter marker. I gotta write done on it. I don't know why I do it. It's just more for myself. Visually, I look at it and go, oh, I haven't written down the questions and the answers yet. Because I have several of these trivia nights that I'm working on. I work on them simultaneously. All of them are by suggestions. I have 38 different topics right now, different people to do trivia night on. I like these questions, and the breakout to 10 look good. Good. I'm glad everyone enjoyed it. And before we take off, please give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed the trivia night tonight. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. People don't believe me when I tell them. Every week I tell you, give it a thumbs up if you like to, give it a thumbs down if you don't. I wouldn't tell people that if it really meant anything to YouTube at all, other than it's an interaction. It just shows that somebody watched it and they took a second to click on the thumbs up or thumbs down. That's all it's for. Yeah, I know it's ridiculous, but it's to stop people from, because people abuse the system and it's broken. Oh, but again, just like every week on Monday, tomorrow's Monday, ladies and gentlemen, if you have to go to work. But just like every week on the community tab on my channel, I will post a question. I try to get it up before 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, because that's what time zone I'm in. But I post a question, early trivia question, so you got an idea of who the trivia is about the next week, on Sunday. So if you want to study, you can. You have a great week as well, Rihanna. Thank you for being here with us. Well, all the work you put into these are well worth many thumbs up. Well, thank you, Pippa Dot. I appreciate it. I like doing this. I do. Even if I got nobody to join in and want to play along, I think it's fascinating to learn about a new subject matter like this man, George Eugene Stano. I mean, I only knew the one little connection to Ted Bundy. Now I know an awful lot more about this guy, and well, it takes up real estate up here, but well, thank you, Kitty Q. I appreciate it. So, with that said, what is today? Today is the 7th of January. Who is the 7th of January in the serial killer calendar, this day in killer history book? The 7th of January. And you can find this book if you're interested in it on Amazon. Kitty Q told me about it, and I went and I was like, yeah, I want that one. Hey, today is Israel Keys, January 7th, 1978 to December 2nd, 2012. Was an American serial killer, rapist, and arsonist and burglar and bank robber. And there are people out there who are still trying to find Israel Keys stashes. He had what he called kill kits, and he had them stashed all over America. And there is no rhyme or reason to it, but they're 5-gallon buckets. He would put all the things that he needed, to kill, murder other people. He put them in buckets and then stashed them all over the place. So when he got back to that area, he'd just go back to where that bucket was, dig it up, and then he'd have a murder kit, everything he needed to commit his crimes. And all of them have not been found. There could be murder kits buried in, the wooded area down by the river, next to the guy who's living in his van. There could be a murder kit there. It could be in the middle of the desert somewhere if you live in the desert, or in the mountains with a bunch of rocks piled on it. But he put it all of them were in 5-gallon buckets with a plastic lid. But Israel Keys, violent sexual assault as a teenage girl in Oregon. He committed a long series of rapes, murders until captured in 2012. He was being held in custody awaiting trial for the murder of Samantha Koenig when he committed suicide in prison. Yes, Israel Keys is today's serial killer calendar. This day in killer history. Great read. I took this entire book and I brought it inside, and I actually had it on my nightstand, and I was reading it, and then I remembered, you know what? I should probably bring that back out to my studio. Oh, thank you, Pippadot. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up tonight's trivia there. I hope that everyone had fun. And I hope to see you all again next Sunday, again at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or if you're closer to the East Coast of the United States, it's 7 o'clock on the East Coast. But I hope that you all have fun, and have a relaxing and safe week ahead. And I hope to see you next Sunday. Thank you for being here. You all have a great night. And never forget the sick pictures he took of Samantha to make people think she was still alive. Yeah, for the ransom. Israel Keys. What a sick dude. But he definitely didn't want to, face the piper, did he? Bye, everyone.